Today we're going to be talking about one of those Naruto characters that everybody knows the face, but few people know the actual name. He appears here and there in the background, doesn't do much, but is actually pretty cool and has some interesting feats. That character is going to be Raido Namiyashi, aka the Leaf Village guy that has a weird scar across his face. If you've watched Naruto, you know who he is. You maybe not know his name, but you know the guy. He was 31 years old in the beginning of the series and 35 in Naruto Shippuden. And back when he was younger, he was put in the same team as Asuma and Kurenai during his Genin years. Talk about a third wheel, which is a little strange because Raido is older than Asuma and Kurenai, so that means Asuma and Kurenai were pretty young Genins and Raido was an older one. Maybe Asuma and Kurenai were more talented than him, we don't know, but he is a special Jonin, that rank between Chunin and Jonin. That means you have Jonin level skills in one particular aspect of shinobi life and not the others. Therefore, you're not quite a Jonin and elite ninja, but you have elite capabilities in one particular skill. And we actually know what that skill is for Raido. Now, maybe he was not so talented early on to be picked as a younger Genin, but he definitely caught the eye of Minato Namikaze, that so happened to be the 4th Hokage back in the day, and Minato chose him to be one of his personal guards. During that time, as an elite bodyguard, Minato taught him and the others to use the flying Raijin. Well, they couldn't use it quite like Minato, but they could use it as a group so they could transport people towards where they have marked. Raido wouldn't be able to use the flying Raijin in the middle of a fight, but it can be a very useful jutsu for transportation. But then comes the question, how did Raido get that iconic scar across his face? Because usually when characters have scars, there's a story behind them. Take Kakashi's scar on his left eye, for example. That's the most iconic one we can find in the Naruto series, and there's an entire story behind that informs Kakashi's character, personality, and background. And Raido's scar is pretty different from anything we see, really. They don't look like cuts or even burns, they look kinda like veins across his face or something like it. So who gave him those scars, and what jutsu or ability or whatever else could have caused something so different? Perhaps we can find some clues if we go through his story in the Naruto series. We don't actually get to see him doing anything with Minato or being taught by him. The first time we actually see Raido on screen / page is during the final stages of the Chunin exams. Raido is the one who informs Hiruzen that Sasuke has not been spotted, which prompts Hiruzen to think he's been captured by Orochimaru, and almost gets Hiruzen to default Sasuke from the exams. Orochimaru then, disguised as the Kazekage, convinces Hiruzen not to default Sasuke, and then Hiruzen informs Raido to go tell Genma that he is giving Sasuke more time to arrive and to move along with other fights. In this scene, when he's whispering to Hiruzen, we can see he actually wears a ring, which is something kind of different. Not many people wear rings in the Naruto universe. The most famous ones are definitely the Akatsuki rings, but as to other characters, this is pretty unique to Raido. After that, Orochimaru starts his operation to destroy the Leaf Village, cutting the Chunin exam short, and this is the first time we see Raido in action. He does pretty damn bad, actually. He's one of the only people in the entire series that's ever defeated by kunai. You know, he tries to protect Hiruzen, but the Sound Four just rush him and throw some kunais at the guy. He gets hit by several of them across the chest, and that incapacitates right until the end of the arc. To be honest, the first time I saw the guy getting pierced by several kunai in the chest, I thought he was dead. And that was, what, 15 years ago or so the first time I saw this arc. But then, Raido appeared again in the next arc, so I was like, wait, did I miss something? Did he just survive getting pierced by several kunai? And apparently he did. Now, to be fair, we've seen characters surviving much worse than some kunai to the chest, but the way that scene went, Raido just falling limp, oozing blood everywhere on the wall he hit, that pretty much implied the guy died. But then, I guess, Kishimoto kind of backtracked on that particular story idea, and now Raido was just pretty damn hurt, but he's alive and fine now. And yeah, I guess that makes sense. The kunais wouldn't kill him immediately, especially because they didn't hit any vital spots. And we know ninjas wear plaques of wood underneath their vests to protect themselves, essentially as body armor. This would make sure the kunais wouldn't hit him too deeply into vital spots. Anyway, so yeah, man, I guess somebody picked him up and healed him well. The only problem I see with Raido's survival there is that he was bleeding a lot. I mean, it was gushing out blood everywhere when he was just like laying there, kind of sitting down against the wall. And the Konoha invasion in that arc lasted for more than an hour because Hiruzen versus Orochimaru lasted for very long. Hiruzen was trying to pull Orochimaru's soul out of him for an hour in that tug of war. So did Raido just stood there unconscious, losing blood for more than an hour and still survive? That seems a little odd to me. Now, you can assume that somebody picked him up before the Sand and the Sound Villages retreated and healed him, which is fair. But we do not see Raido in the end of the arc when all the Jonins congregate in the arena after the battles are done. And we don't see any signs of anybody healing anyone, so that's kind of weird. Maybe the guy is just very tough. Points for his constitution, I guess. What matters is that he survived the attack on the Leaf Village, and the next time he appears is in the Sasuke Retrieval Arc. And he gets another L in this arc. Now, to be fair, it was a very unfair fight. He lost to the Sound 4. Now, he had help from Genma, another Tokubetsu Jonin, aka Special Jonin. But both Genma and Raido were coming back from a mission, and they said they were out of chakra. While the Sound 4 team was completely rested, they had full chakra, and they went Curse Mark level 2 to fight against Raido and Genma. All 4 at the same time versus 2, which, well, pretty unfair. And you have to also take into account that the Sound 4 fights better as a unit than individually. They are stronger than the sum of their individual parts when fighting together. And even with all those disadvantages, the Sound 4 still had to sweat a lot to defeat Raido and Genma. Shizune obviously finds them after the fight and it starts to heal them up. They go to the hospital and survive, eventually being healed by Tsunade. Now in Naruto Shippuden, things start to get a little more exciting. The first time he prominently appears is during the Akatsuki Suppression Arc, when Tsunade sends several squads to go and hunt down Kakuzu and Hidan, who are known to be in the Land of Fire somewhere. Raido actually leads his particular squad, which consists of himself, Aoba, Choji, and Ino. Aoba is another Tokubetsu Jonin, Choji and Ino are Chunins. Raido and his squad eventually engage Kakuzu and Hidan, saving the rest of Team Asuma. Not Asuma himself, he turned out dead, but still, they saved Shikamaru, Izumo, and Kotetsu there. And we see one of Raido's specialities in this fight. He attacks Kakuzu with his black rod. That's what she said. No, but really, he sneaks in between Aoba's crows that he used in that fight and strikes Kakuzu without Kakuzu even noticing. He blitzes Kakuzu, actually hitting him with a strike. And it doesn't work because Kakuzu had his diamond skin up, so it didn't really hurt him. It did cut a little bit of his mask, which remained cut till the end of the arc, until Kakuzu dies. And because of that attack, Kakuzu was forced to let go of Izumo and Kotetsu. Now that's the interesting thing. You can see Raido actually wears a different coat when he attacks with his black rod. Something that allowed him to hide better among the crows. And he was not wearing that coat when they were heading towards Kakuzu and Hidan, so he actually put them on before engaging. And this is his speciality, assassination. Raido is an assassin. He doesn't look like one because the guy doesn't really have an intimidating demeanor, but that's a great personality type for an assassin. You're not going to expect somebody that doesn't seem very threatening to go and assassinate you, but you at least expect you're dead. And the fact that he managed to hit among crows and hit Kakuzu without Kakuzu realizing what happened speaks volumes of his stealth capabilities. He also went straight towards Kakuzu's head when he struck against him, meaning that he knows where to strike. He doesn't mess up. Kakuzu only survived because he had his diamond skin, and also, I mean, he has 5 hearts, so even if Raido killed Kakuzu in that situation, he would still have 4 more lives to go. But anyways, it's funny that Hidan and Kakuzu decide to retreat after he arrives with Aoba. I know some people may say it's because Pain called them to seal the 3 tails, but that to me just sounds like a big excuse. After this arc, he only appears in the War Arc, really. It doesn't do much in between that. But what he does in the War Arc is pretty impressive. He is assigned to Mei's team, the 5th Mizukage, to protect the feudal lords, literally the most important people in the shinobi world. They are essentially why the shinobis exist, to defend the feudal lords and their lands. So yeah, pretty important job. He fights alongside Mei, Genma, Chojuro, and a couple of other Jonins against Black Zetsu and his wood-style techniques. And then he does something actually very important. When Madara returns to the battlefield, every Kage was to convey there and fight against him because they were the best chance to fight against a legendary shinobi like Madara Uchiha. Raido and the other 2 former guards of Minato and Namikaze so happened to have access to the Flying Raijin, and they had marked Tsunade because, well, they are the Hokage guards. They would have marked Tsunade to go to her if any emergency happens. So they could use the jutsu, which they have to put their hands together and form the jutsu at the same time, to teleport Mei to the battlefield where Madara is after Tsunade arrives there. And after he does so, Raido and his squad go after Mu, the 2nd Tsuchikage. He goes with Genma, Dodai, and a couple of other guys and tries to pursue the Edo Tensei of the 2nd Tsuchikage, which is a very powerful one, by the way. Yeah, Mu had to split his body so that he wasn't sealed, so he definitely wasn't at full power. He couldn't use his particle style. But even still, Mu was an extremely respected ninja, a legendary shinobi, may I say, and Kabuto was controlling him to go away from those guys, including Raido. Meaning that Kabuto thought, okay, if these guys catch up to me, Mu's gonna be sealed and this is not gonna work, so let me just try and go away. He didn't even try to fight them or anything like that. He was actually trying to help Madara with Mu in a couple of situations there, in the fight against the 5 Kage and Inoki and all. But once Raido and his team show up, well, he doesn't do anything else. He just runs away, and then when Mu gets cornered, Itachi actually releases the Edo Tensei, and then Mu's just going up, and well, they don't actually have to fight the 2nd Tsuchikage, which is a shame. Raido survives the 4th Great Ninja War, which is not something everybody did. We see him attending the mass funeral that is held in Leaf Village after the war, and we never see him in Boruto, which is a great thing. The fewer characters Boruto ruins, the better. Raido's speciality as a Special Jonin was assassination, which is something oddly fitting because as the Hokage guard, he is to guard the Hokage against assassinations, and what better to stop an assassination attempt than an assassin that knows what to look for. Unfortunately, we never see Raido in any missions that involve assassination, at least covert ones. I mean, he was trying to assassinate the Akatsuki members, but that wasn't something he was like sneaking around and trying to do so. He came close to assassinating Kakuzu using Aoba's crows as a disguise, but unfortunately Kakuzu tanked the attack. But how did he get that scar across his face? Well, the first time he appears in the series, he already has the scar, so we don't see how he does. Though we do see him in a couple of flashbacks, very briefly. He doesn't get a lot of screen time at all, much less in flashbacks, but what we do see is pretty revealing. We see a young Raido in the Chunin exams that Obito took part of a long time ago, and his design was pretty different actually. He used a weird looking bandage across his face, right where the scar was supposed to be. We don't see Raido with that scar, we just see the bandage, which means he was probably trying to cover it up with a bandage. And that's pretty interesting. It kind of implies that Raido was ashamed of the scar, trying to hide it. Maybe he had a crush on a girl and he didn't want the girl to see the scar. Or he was just ashamed in general because it's not something a powerful shinobi would do, getting scarred. You could argue Kakashi also hides his scar with his headband, but that's mostly so that he's not using his Sharingan 24 hours a day, which would drain his chakra and render him unconscious. So he also hides his scar by necessity. This is not the same for Raido here. His scar doesn't seem to be anything detrimental for him, it's just an aesthetic thing. And the fact that he shows the scar when he is an adult implies that he got over that fact. Maybe the girl he had a crush on actually liked the scar and he's like, oh, I don't have to hide it anymore then, that's great. But how did he get the scar? Well, obviously it was Hikaku Uchiha who gave him the scar. I'm just kidding. The fact is that we just don't know. But my best educated guess is that this is not even a scar. It's more of a birthmark. It is kind of common for people that are born with those types of marks that they're gonna hide it. Some people think, well, they don't look pretty with those, especially when they are younger, just like Raido does here. Now, I mentioned Kakashi hiding his scar out of necessity, but I don't think he would try to hide it if he didn't have to. When Kakashi becomes the Hokage, for example, he is showing his scar just fine. When he doesn't have the Sharingan anymore, I mean, I guess he's wearing a mask his entire life, just because he has a small mole on his cheek. But that's not for this video. Still, we see several other ninjas that have scars and don't really try to hide them. I mean, Iruka has a scar across his face. Ibiki has several scars, and yes, he does hide a lot of them on the top of his head, but it's because those are actually really damn ugly and kind of upsetting to look at. The third Raikage actually flashed that massive scar on his chest every single time, and that's a really easy one to hide. And it's even weirder that the third Raikage knows that's his only weakness. That scar revealed how he was once defeated, and because it's a mark of shame, why wouldn't you try and hide that? It wouldn't be very difficult to do that, you know? I mean, I guess it's for Naruto to find out how to eventually defeat him in the War Arc. Or maybe he just thought the scar looked cool because it looked exactly like a lightning bolt, kind of like Harry Potter's scar. And the theme just fits with him because, you know, he's the Raikage, the guy from the land of lightning that rules over the village. He has a lightning scar, pretty cool. Still, he didn't hide that scar, even though it's confirmed that he felt ashamed the way he acquired it. So hiding scars is not really the norm in the Naruto universe, and of course, people are different. People will do different things upon getting a scar. Some will try to hide it, some will show it as a mark of pride. But because Raido has had that scar, presumably because he's hiding something underneath those bandages from a very early age, meaning that he didn't even have that much time to get a scar on the battlefield, and hiding scars is not exactly very common in the Naruto series, it's not unlikely that this is just something he was born with. The fact that it looks very different from any other scar also corroborates this. As I said before, it doesn't look like a cut, it doesn't look like burns, it's just a couple of weird looking veins. And that's definitely the most remarkable part of Raido's character design. If he didn't have those scars slash birthmarks, he would be a very generic character. So I'm glad he does, it makes him stand out. How do you think Raido got his scars? Let me know in the comments below. Also, like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those things really help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Watch this other video right here for more cool Naruto content, and thank you so much for watching.